Hey there, you looking kinda cute. Please consider subscribing and check out our Patreon for more. Enjoy the video. The glow of the laptop screen illuminated Vanessa's face as she scrolled through Rob's social media feed. A frown creased her forehead, deepening with each swipe. No new posts, no photos with friends, nothing to indicate her son had found his place at the new school. She closed the laptop with a sigh and leaned back in her chair, mind racing with worry. The move had been Tim's idea. A fresh start, he'd said. A chance for Rob to reinvent himself? But 6 months in, and it seemed her son was more isolated than ever. Vanessa's chest tightened as she recalled the withdrawn looks, the monosyllabic responses to her questions about his day. Something had to change. A plan began to form in her mind. If Rob wouldn't open up to her, perhaps she could get answers elsewhere. She'd noticed a name that popped up occasionally in Rob's rare mentions of school: Alex. It wasn't much, but it was a start. The next morning, Vanessa lingered in the school parking lot after dropping Rob off. She scanned the crowds of students, searching for a face that matched the profile picture she'd found online. Just as she was about to give up, she spotted him: sandy hair, lanky frame, backpack slung over one shoulder. "Alex!" she called out, hurrying to catch up. The boy turned, surprise evident on his face. "Yeah?" Vanessa took a deep breath. "I'm Rob's mom. I was hoping we could talk for a minute." Alex's eyebrows shot up, but he nodded. Sure. What's up?" They moved to a quieter spot near the school's entrance. Vanessa's words tumbled out in a rush. "I'm worried about Rob. He seems so unhappy, and I know he's had trouble making friends. I was hoping you might have some insight?" Alex's expression softened. "Oh, Rob. He's actually been hanging out with us lately. Me and some of the girls, Tessa, Allison, that crowd. He's pretty quiet at first, but once he opens up, he's cool." Relief washed over Vanessa. "Really? That's wonderful to hear. He hasn't mentioned anything to me." Alex shrugged. "Yeah, we've been trying to include him more. Get him to come out to stuff with us. He seems to be having a good time." "Thank you," Vanessa said, her voice thick with emotion. "That means more than you know." As she walked back to her car, Vanessa's step felt lighter. Rob had friends. He was socializing. Maybe things were looking up after all. Over the next few weeks, Vanessa noticed subtle changes in Rob. He seemed more animated, less withdrawn. She caught him smiling at his phone, the occasional laugh drifting from his room. When she casually asked about his plans for the weekend, he mentioned meeting up with the group at the mall. Vanessa's heart soared. She wanted to press for details, to ask a million questions, but she held back. Rob was finally finding his footing, and she didn't want to jeopardize that by being overbearing. One Saturday afternoon, Vanessa was folding laundry when she heard the front door open. Rob's footsteps echoed in the hallway, followed by the sound of his bedroom door closing. She finished her task, then made her way upstairs, intending to ask if he wanted a snack. As she approached Rob's room, she heard muffled voices and laughter. Her hand hovered over the doorknob, curiosity warring with respect for his privacy. In the end, curiosity won out. She turned the handle slowly, pushing the door open just a crack. The scene that greeted her made her breath catch in her throat. Rob stood in front of his full-length mirror, but it wasn't the Rob she was used to seeing. Long red hair cascaded past his shoulders. A floral dress hugged his frame, accentuated by a delicate necklace. Makeup softened his features, bringing out a femininity Vanessa had never noticed before. Next to him stood Tessa and Allison, fussing with his hair and offering words of encouragement. "You look amazing, Roberta," Tessa gushed, adjusting the dress's neckline. Roberta. The name echoed in Vanessa's mind as she quietly closed the door, backing away on unsteady legs. She retreated to her bedroom, sinking onto the edge of the bed as her thoughts whirled. Her son? Her daughter? The labels blurred in her mind. Questions flooded her consciousness. How long had this been going on? Was this why Rob had been so unhappy before? And most pressingly, What should she do now? Vanessa's first instinct was to confront Rob, to demand answers. But as the initial shock wore off, she forced herself to take a deep breath. She thought back to the changes she'd noticed recently, the increased confidence, the smiles, the laughter. Whatever was happening, it seemed to be bringing Rob joy. She closed her eyes, remembering her own struggles as a teenager, the pressure to conform, to fit in, the fear of being different, of being judged. With a start, she realized that Rob, or Roberta, must be grappling with those same fears, amplified 1,000-fold. In that moment, Vanessa made a decision. She would wait. She would watch and listen and try to understand. And when the time was right, she would let Rob know that no matter what, he had her unconditional love and support. The next few days passed in a blur of normalcy tinged with a new awareness. Vanessa found herself studying Rob more closely, noticing little things she'd overlooked before. The way he absently played with his hair, growing longer now. The flash of envy in his eyes when a group of girls walked by in flowing summer dresses. She began to leave fashion magazines around the house, making offhand comments about styles she thought might suit him. She casually mentioned a sale at a local boutique, gauging his reaction. Rob's eyes would light up momentarily before he caught himself, muttering non-committal responses. It was a delicate dance, one Vanessa wasn't sure she was performing correctly, but she persevered, determined to create an environment where Rob felt safe to be himself, or herself. The opportunity she'd been waiting for finally arrived on a quiet Sunday afternoon. Tim was out golfing, leaving Vanessa and Rob alone in the house. She found him in the living room, absently flipping through one of the fashion magazines she'd left out. "That dress is pretty," she said softly, gesturing to the page he'd lingered on. Rob startled, snapping the magazine shut. "Oh, yeah, I guess." Vanessa took a deep breath, steeling herself. "Rob, honey, I saw you the other day with Tessa and Allison." The color drained from Rob's face. "Mom, I can explain." "You don't have to," Vanessa interrupted gently. She moved to sit beside him on the couch, taking his trembling hands in hers. "I just want you to know that I love you, no matter what. And if this is who you are, who you want to be, then I support you completely." Tears welled up in Rob's eyes. "Really?" he whispered, voice cracking. Vanessa nodded, her own eyes growing misty. "Really? I admit I was surprised at first, but seeing you these past few weeks, how much happier you've been, how you've come out of your shell. That's all I've ever wanted for you." Rob's composure crumbled. He fell into Vanessa's arms, body shaking with sobs. She held him close, stroking his hair as years of pent-up emotion poured out. When the tears finally subsided, Rob pulled back, wiping his eyes. "I've wanted to tell you for so long," he said, "but I was so scared. I didn't want to disappoint you and Dad." "Oh, sweetheart," Vanessa murmured, "you could never disappoint me. You're my child, and I love every part of you." A tentative smile curved Rob's lips. Even if I'm not always Rob, if sometimes I'm Roberta?" "Especially then," Vanessa assured him. "Roberta is just as much a part of you as Rob is, and I want to know her, if you'll let me." Rob nodded, a weight visibly lifting from his shoulders. "I'd like that," he said softly. They spent the next few hours talking, really talking in a way they hadn't in years. Rob opened up about his struggles with gender identity, how he'd always felt different but never had the words to explain it. He spoke of the relief he'd felt when Tessa and Allison had caught him experimenting with makeup and, instead of judging, had embraced him wholeheartedly. Vanessa listened, asking questions when appropriate, offering support and love at every turn. As the afternoon wore on, a plan began to take shape. "What if," Vanessa suggested, "we had a girls' day out, just you and me? We could go shopping, get our nails done. Whatever you'd like. You could be Roberta for the whole day." Rob's eyes widened. "But what if someone sees us?" Vanessa squeezed his hand. "Then they'll see a mother and daughter spending time together. Nothing more, nothing less. Tears threatened again, but this time they were accompanied by a radiant smile. I'd love that, Mom. Thank you. As the sun began to set, casting a warm glow through the windows, Vanessa broached the subject they'd both been avoiding. What about your father? Do you want to tell him? Rob's smile faltered. I don't know. I'm not sure he'd understand. Vanessa nodded, understanding the fear all too well. Tim was a good man, but set in his ways. This would be a lot for him to process. We don't have to decide anything right now, she assured Rob. For now, this can be our secret. When you're ready, if you're ever ready, we'll face that together. Relief washed over Rob's features. Thanks, Mom, for everything. As they embraced once more, Vanessa felt a surge of fierce protectiveness. The road ahead wouldn't be easy, she knew. There would be challenges, prejudices to face, difficult conversations to have. But in that moment, holding her child close, she made a silent vow. She would stand by Rob, or Roberta, every step of the way, come what may. The next morning, Vanessa woke early, her mind buzzing with plans for their upcoming Girls' Day. She tiptoed past Rob's room, not wanting to wake him, and made her way downstairs to start breakfast. As she whisked eggs for an omelet, she heard the familiar creak of the stairs. Rob appeared in the doorway, sleep-tousled and yawning. Morning, honey, Vanessa said, smiling warmly. Sleep well? Rob nodded, sliding onto a stool at the kitchen island. Yeah, actually. Better than I have in a long time. Vanessa's heart swelled at the peaceful look on her child's face. I'm glad to hear that. Listen, I was thinking about our day out. What would you like to do first? Shopping? Lunch? Spa treatments? A mix of excitement and nervousness flashed across Rob's features. Maybe shopping? I've never really had the chance to try on clothes I actually want to wear. Shopping it is, Vanessa agreed, sliding a plate of food in front of Rob. Eat up. We've got a big day ahead of us. As they finished breakfast and began to get ready, Vanessa noticed Rob hovering uncertainly near his closet. Everything okay? She asked gently. Rob bit his lip. I don't know what to wear. I want to look more feminine, but I'm scared of standing out too much. Vanessa approached, placing a comforting hand on Rob's shoulder. How about we start small? Maybe some skinny jeans and a looser top? You can borrow one of my blouses if you'd like. Relief washed over Rob's face. That sounds perfect. Thanks, Mom. An hour later, they were pulling into the parking lot of a sprawling shopping center. Rob fidgeted nervously with the hem of the borrowed blouse, a soft lavender number that brought out the warm tones in his skin. Remember, Vanessa said softly as they walked towards the entrance, you have nothing to be ashamed of. We're just two people out for a day of shopping. If anyone has a problem with that, it's their issue, not ours. Rob nodded, squaring his shoulders. They entered the cool, air-conditioned space, surrounded by the bustle of weekend shoppers. Their first stop was a trendy boutique that catered to young women. Rob's eyes widened as they stepped inside, taking in the array of colorful dresses, skirts, and tops. See anything you like? Vanessa asked, watching Rob's reactions carefully. After a moment's hesitation, Rob reached out to touch the fabric of a floral sundress. This is pretty, he murmured. Why don't you try it on? Vanessa suggested, along with anything else that catches your eye. What followed was a whirlwind of fabric and laughter. Rob's initial nervousness melted away as he tried on outfit after outfit, twirling in front of the dressing room mirror. Vanessa offered encouragement and honest opinions, her heart soaring at the joy radiating from her child. As Rob emerged in a particularly flattering dress, a deep blue that set off his eyes beautifully, Vanessa found herself blinking back tears. What's wrong? Rob asked, concern creasing his brow. Vanessa shook her head, smiling through her tears. Nothing's wrong, sweetheart. It's just, I've never seen you look so happy, so comfortable in your own skin. It's beautiful to see. Rob's eyes welled up in response. He rushed forward, enveloping Vanessa in a tight hug. Thank you. he whispered, for understanding, for being here. They left the store with several bags, Rob practically glowing with excitement. As they walked through the mall, Vanessa noticed her child's posture changing, becoming more relaxed and confident with each step. Their next stop was a cosmetics counter. The saleswoman greeted them warmly, asking if they needed any help. "Actually," Vanessa said, giving Rob an encouraging nod, "my daughter here is just starting to experiment with makeup. We were hoping for some tips." The word daughter hung in the air for a moment. Rob's eyes widened, a mix of surprise and gratitude flooding his features. The saleswoman, to her credit, didn't miss a beat. "Of course, let's start with finding your perfect foundation shade, shall we?" What followed was a crash course in makeup application. Rob soaked up every word, practicing techniques with a steadiness that surprised Vanessa. By the end of the session, Rob's features were subtly enhanced, bringing out a softer, more feminine appearance. As they left the counter, products in hand, Rob leaned in close. "Did you mean it?" he asked softly. "Calling me your daughter?" Vanessa squeezed his hand. "Of course I did. You are my child, in whatever form makes you happiest." They stopped for lunch at a cozy cafe, poring over their purchases and planning the rest of their day. As they chatted, Vanessa noticed Rob becoming more animated, gesturing with delicate movements that seemed to come naturally now. "So," Vanessa said as they finished their meal, "what would you like to do next?"
We could get our nails done or maybe look for some accessories.
Rob's eyes lit up.
Could we maybe look at wigs? I love how I feel with long hair, but I'm not sure I'm ready to grow mine out yet.
"Absolutely," Vanessa agreed. "I think I know just the place." The wig shop was tucked away in a quieter part of the mall. As they browsed the selections, Rob's excitement was palpable. He tried on style after style, giggling at some of the more outlandish options. Finally, he settled on a wig with long red waves that framed his face beautifully. As he admired his reflection, Vanessa saw Roberta truly emerge for the first time. The transformation was subtle but undeniable, a softening of features, a light in the eyes that spoke of finally feeling at home in one's own skin. "Oh, honey," Vanessa breathed, "you look stunning." Roberta, turned to face her, a radiant smile lighting up her face. "I feel stunning," she said softly. "I feel me." As they left the mall, arms laden with bags, Vanessa felt a profound sense of peace settle over her. The day had been a revelation, not just for Roberta, but for her as well. She'd always known she loved her child unconditionally, but seeing the joy and confidence that came with embracing this true self, it was beyond anything she could have imagined. The drive home was filled with excited chatter about their purchases and plans for future outings. As they pulled into the driveway, however, a shadow passed over Roberta's face. "What is it, sweetheart?" Vanessa asked gently. Roberta sighed, gesturing to the bags in the back seat. I wish I could be this version of myself all the time. But I'm scared of what people will say, how they'll treat me, of disappointing Dad." Vanessa reached out, taking Roberta's hand in hers. "I know it's scary, and I won't pretend it will always be easy, but you are so strong, so brave, and you don't have to face any of it alone. We'll take it one step at a time, okay?" Roberta nodded, squeezing Vanessa's hand. "Okay, thank you, Mom, for everything." As they carried their purchases inside, Vanessa's mind was already working on next steps. She'd need to do more research, find support groups, maybe even look into therapists who specialized in gender identity issues. But for now, she was content to bask in the glow of this perfect day, this precious time spent getting to know her child all over again. That evening, as Vanessa prepared dinner, she heard music drifting from upstairs. Curious, she made her way to Rob's room, peering through the partially open door. Roberta stood in front of the mirror, fully dressed in her new outfit, wig in place, makeup perfectly applied. She swayed to the music, a look of pure contentment on her face. In that moment, Vanessa knew with absolute certainty that they had embarked on the right path. Thanks for watching. Be sure to check out Patreon for a lot more content and early access to YouTube videos.